we're going to just move on to AOB and our regular feature where we look at the films of a particular director. This week we've gone way back in time to look at the films of the great Billy Wilder. Andy, which Billy Wilder picture did you pick?
Can I say all of them? Because I just don't think he made a bad film. And I love Billy Wilder's output. But I've gone for Sunset Boulevard.
Because this is a Hollywood story about the people who make the movies. The little ones that you never hear of, like Betty and me. The great ones, like Cecil B. DeMille. All those who knew Norma Desmond, a strange woman who left her mark on all of us who crossed her path.
I'm a sucker for Hollywood movies about Hollywood. And this perhaps is the ultimate Hollywood movie about Hollywood. So we open up with a swimming pool in a big house on Hollywood Boulevard. There's a dead body lying in the pool. And what we learn is that the person doing the narration is the guy who's been murdered himself. Mm-hmm. And we then go back in time to the start of the story. We meet Joe, who's a down on his luck script writer, can't get any of his scripts made into movies. He's in debt up to the top of his head. He drives into a garage on Sunset Boulevard, and what he thinks is a deserted house, trying to escape rent collectors who are chasing him. Turns out the house isn't deserted. It belongs to Gloria Swanson. She's playing a faded actress. She was a big star in the silent days. Most people have forgotten her by now. I have to say, an incredible performance.
What's
by
that
Gloria Swanson.
Famous line?
I am big. It's the pictures that got small.
It's the pictures that got small. Yes.
Yeah. And the film is littered with real life Hollywood people playing themselves. So there's one scene where she's playing poker in her front room, and Buster Keaton is there, and a few others from the silent era. She goes onto the Paramount lot because she's got dreams of coming back and being a big film star again. And we see Cecil B. DeMille, and he plays himself in the film. And they're making Samson and Delilah, so we get to see behind the scenes of that. And then, of course, there is this central relationship between this ageing film star and this young guy who she really entraps in her world. And he stays entrapped because she's giving him money and new clothes and everything else. Eventually, when the time comes for him to leave, well, he ends up in the swimming pool telling us his own story. Billy Wilder had incredible imagination. I think he's the third greatest director for me after Hitchcock and Spielberg. And I just love Sunset Boulevard.
Very good. Very good. Emma, I know you're a lot younger than us old crinkly bastards, right? But which Billy Wilder film did you pick?
So, as I would imagine, a lot of the younger audience they might be in the same position as me. I have only seen one film, and thankfully, I thought it was amazing, and that is Some Like It Hot.
You the replacement for the bass and sax?
That's us, and I'm Daphne. This is Josephine. Hi. Yeah.
I'm Sugar Cane.
Hi. Sugar Cane?
Yeah, I changed. It used to be Sugar Kowalczyk.
You Polish?
Yes. I come from this musical family. My mother is a piano teacher, and my father was a conductor.
Where did he conduct?
On the Baltimore and Ohio.
Oh.
So obviously it's two musicians who witness a crime, and to escape they end up disguising themselves as women and joining an all-female band who are off on a bit of a tour, and it's just hilarious. Well, I was amazed when I watched it.
Of course, arguably the most famous closing line in movie history.
Very much so,
well.
Isn't it?
Nobody's perfect.
Hilarious. Yeah, it's a hilarious closing line.
Stories from behind the scenes say that it was a terrible production just because of Marilyn Monroe and with her on set.
I don't want you to think I'm a drinker. I can stop anytime I want to, only I don't want to, especially when I'm blue.
Yeah.
But the finished product was just so much fun and so entertaining. The differences in them, acting as their female versions, as hilarious. You've got the shy, demure type, and that was because he wasn't comfortable being a man acting as a woman.
Yeah.
And it came across that way, and I just think that actually...
That was Tony Curtis, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. And Tony Curtis, he was a big butch movie star of the time, so you could kind of think that's a bit of a risk, isn't it, for Tony Curtis to go into that film, maybe.
Yeah, I think Osgood Fielding, who is enamoured with, I want to say Daphne, but I might have picked the wrong name. Just that whole story just amuses the hell out of me.
He is such a funny character actor. I can't actually remember the name of the guy now. But
I can't remember now.
But
he is brilliant. It is brilliant. And Marilyn Monroe might have been going through some serious problems, but boy, oh boy, as a man watching her perform some of her musical numbers, she certainly had something, didn't she? The one I've gone for is a war film, and that is Stalag 17.
Hey! Margot! Wait for me!
Zurück! Wo die Schieße!
Let me go!
They'll shoot you.
Let me go! Let me go!
They'll shoot you, animal.
I don't care! Let me go!
I often wonder that our generation still gets a little bit obsessed with World War II. I was born in 1961, so when I was a kind of a toddler and kind of watching the films on the television, like The Great Escape and The Wooden Horse and this film, Stalag 17, the World War II to my parents was the equivalent of 9/11 to us and this generation. And that's very hard to get your mind around, that the whole country mobilised and sent all its menfolk, or most of its menfolk, off to war on the other side of the world, and this massive, massive upheaval happened, far bigger, affecting everybody than 9/11 ever did for our generation. But that was their kind of perception of where the war was on the timeline. I often look at these films and think they must have been so massive, some of these films, because they kept getting trotted out all of the time. Dam Busters as well. Dam Busters, Wooden Horse, Stalag 17, The Great Escape a little bit later on. But this is a real classic war movie. It's set entirely in a German concentration camp. It features William Holden as the star in quite an unpleasant role. I mean, he is basically the kind of wheeler-dealer spiv guy who's working with the Germans to get goods and contraband for his own kind of good. He's the one who has all the cigarettes and all of the booze and all of the stuff in his kind of case. So he's quite an unpleasant character for William Holden, who was a star to play. Maybe Billy Wilder kind of went for these stars to get them out of their kind of comfort zone a little bit. And it also has Otto Preminger, the famous director, which is a very interesting piece of casting, who plays the Oberst von Scherbach, who is the commandant of the camp and the nasty German. And coming back to Mission Impossible again, the original TV series, a very young Peter Graves plays the security officer in the barracks as well. So there's some very famous faces in there who are really good. What's interesting, I think, with Wilder is, as well as being quite a tense war movie, he also infuses it with a lot of humour. Some of the scenes are genuinely still funny. Some of them don't work. There's a very, very annoying American officer who is supposed to be a stand-up kind of impersonator, and he does these impersonations of Cary Grant and so on. I mean, I know they're Cary Grant, but as a character, God, I would have wanted to punch him and stick him down the first tunnel and fill it in. He was very, very annoying. So some of the comedy clearly worked at the time this film was made. Some of it doesn't work quite so well today. And it's got all of those tropes that you see coming up again in The Great Escape, which are no doubt based on reality about the fact the tunnel is under the hot stove and you move the stove out of the way with the bedboards, and all of this communication stuff going on and trying to get from one part of a camp into the other part of the camp, in this case the Russian women's quarters, which is over the other side of the barbed wire. So it's just a beautifully put together film. Even though it's in black and white, it really stands the test of time, I think. But it's well worth watching. Some great acting performances and a very interesting script.